All right, YouTube tells me we're live. So welcome to today's edition of Speed to Profit Marketing. Today we're going to talk about consistency and what role that plays in marketing. I know that it might sound like a boring topic, consistency. How boring could that be? But you know, it's a powerful and important part of any good marketing program. So before we do, I want to give a shout of thanks out to all of those that have made all of the previous programs and made the good discussion and so forth that we've had there possible. Today I don't know if this is the 40th or more Speed to Profit Marketing edition. We started back in February with hour-long broadcasts and shortened them to a half-hour a little while ago to accommodate people's busy schedules and to cram more work into less time so you could consume more content faster. So we'll get right into the program today. I want to thank, again, all of those that have contributed to past programs and also with suggestions about topics. If you have a suggestion for a Speed to Profit Marketing topic, please put it in the comment box below and we'll fit it into the schedule. If you have questions about the Speed to Profit Marketing topic, about marketing in any sense, about avatars, so let's talk for just a second about what this covers. It's avatar, how to identify your ideal customer. That's a process that you go through matching your skill set with a need in the market, how to identify profitable opportunities in the market, how to get really clear on the message that you create, the value that you create, and the power that you offer in the market. And all of those things are part of Speed to Profit Marketing. So it's not just about the marketing message itself, it's about also creating clarity in your mind about the value and opportunity that you offer, product or service. It's also about powerfully packaging the message that you have so that it can be consumed in a way most valuable to your intended clients. So all of those are pieces of Speed to Profit Marketing, as well as what you would traditionally think, which is copywriting, messaging, videos, how-to, Facebook strategies, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the kinds of actual marketing online strategies that are part of today's marketing work. So today we're going to talk about consistency as a principle, and we're going to talk about how come consistency is such an important piece of marketing. So the three parts of consistency that I said we were going to talk about today are what is consistency, why it matters, and the keys to developing your own habits of consistency. So what is consistency? Well, consistency, and let's just use a couple of examples. If you go to buy a pair of shoes, a pair of runners, let's say, and you buy a certain brand because you like them, and they work out well for you, and you go back and you buy that same brand, you would expect them also to fit well, work out well, and last, you know, an appropriate period of time. If you make a habit of going to a certain grocery store, you would expect that their produce, for example, has a consistent level of freshness, a consistent level of, you know, attractiveness, a consistent level of how ripe it is, and, you know, what's available to you. You would expect a consistent level of service from a store. If one day you went to a store to make a return, you go to Costco to return, and one day they accommodate you, no problem. The next time it's completely different, they won't talk to you, and other circumstances are about the same. That would be puzzling, and of course you'd get angry and wouldn't, you know, you'd want to run online and comment about the things that you'd had experienced. So that's a definition of consistency, is to have something be the same. So that's pretty obvious. So what does consistency have with business? Well, let's just look at those examples that I just used. A consistency in product quality. So whatever your product or service is, a consistent level of quality is key. And one of the things that's really important to understand is because the internet lets you as a business and you as a customer reach around the world, a consistent level of quality is a key ingredient to attracting customers. And high quality is pretty much the ante to get into business these days. Excellent product quality is an ante to get in the game. Okay? Let's explore some of the reasons why that is. With the ability of, you know, Yelp, product reviews, websites, and all of those kinds of things that talk about people's experience with different companies, companies can no longer hide reputation problems. If a company has a particular reputation for lack of quality or lack of consistency in quality in a particular service, that gets broadcast all over the place. So for example, right away, my wife is an excellent researcher. Many of you know who she is, Joy. She's not with us today because she has another appointment, but she will go online in her research and she will be able to tell me right away if other people have an issue with a certain product or service. She knows how to do that research extremely well. If she does, there are many others that do too. And what's more importantly is there are many who are feeding that product quality funnel, if you will. So it is possible to go online and find reviews, experiences, customer reviews, reviewer reviews, professionals that review a particular product or service. So example for that is the studio. I have a recording studio. Many of you know that. I do my own recordings and work for other people and have for 35 years. So in the albums that I produce for myself, I need certain pieces of equipment, certain plugins, they're called now. It's your software equivalents of that old hardware you used to see in a great big recording studio. It can all be done in the box now, in the computer box. But before I buy any plug-in or invest in it, I go look and see what people's experience are with it. Plug-in manufacturers or software manufacturers have a habit now of putting online all of the people that, what people say about it. Now, of course, as a manufacturer, you're going to have a bias towards putting on the great things, the rave reviews, right? Well, okay. But it's not very difficult to find people that had a bad experience or had a struggle with a particular review. So, or with a particular product, sorry. So here's one of the ways that I judge stuff. It's always the case that someone's going to have a bad experience with a product. Somebody somewhere, right? So one of the things that I look for is when I see a problematic review or someone that says that the product or service didn't perform to expectations, what I like to see is there an answer? Is there an explanation? Is there an offer for help? Often what I will see, and this, again, I'm talking about studio products, plugins and other kinds of things that are used for audio and video studio work, I will see the moderator of forums, and I will see in those forums company representatives who will offer help, who will offer video tutorials, who will offer websites with answers to questions, to comments and questions and concerns and problems that come in there. If that's not there, so if there's a pile of complaints about a particular thing and no offer by the company to help, then the negativity stands. If, on the other hand, it's clear from the exchange back and forth that it's operator error or someone not knowing how to use a particular product or service, then the fact that there's a negative doesn't really sway me very much, and I look at the features and the benefits of the particular piece of gear that I'm looking at. So my point is simply this: the consistency with which you provide your product or service as a business is key to establishing both rapport with your customer and putting cash in your pocket. So the name of today's Hangout was Consistency, the Keys to Connection and Cash. So let's talk about those right now. The first key I said was the first leg of this was what is consistency. And we said that it's simply doing, having an expected or better level of product or service. And I said it's the key to connection and cash. So if you have a good level of customer service, and it's always good, and it's evidenced by what you provide to an individual, plus things like I described, presence in forums, answers to questions, and so forth. If you have a robust question and answer session on your website, if you have an easy ability for people to get to you, and your reputation is that you answer questions in a reasonable period of time, all of those contribute to that reputation of consistency of service. That reputation of consistency, particularly of service and of quality as well, will immediately create a feeling in the marketplace that you are trustworthy. That trustworthy feeling creates the rapport that I talked about. So I said consistency is a key to connection. So what is consistency? A predictable level of coolness or a predictable level of excellence in your product or service. It makes people like you. It's really simple and it's really obvious. But I can't tell you how many businesses overlook this. So they'll do provide a product or service, it gets sold, and this is particularly true for smaller companies, entrepreneurs. And speed to profit marketing, while the principles are applicable to all companies of all sizes, I particularly designed this show for entrepreneurs and small businesses. The majority of my clients are entrepreneurs and small businesses. So this is where it's particularly a problem. that consistency that we describe, meaning a predictable level of product or service, that may be easy to do in your product, okay? If it's a physical product and you source it well, a predictable level of quality in the product may be easy to provide. However, if your product is service, or you have service associated with a physical product after the fact, that is where it is a struggle. It is a struggle to provide that predictable level, that excellence all the time. So what I say about that is that excellent products is sort of an ante to the game, and excellent customer service is just an expectation of the market. And if we don't provide that now, we're going to lose customers to those who do, because by not doing it, we hand a unique service proposition to our competitors. They know exactly what to do to wipe us out, because if we have a particular failing and they provide that well, then obviously they're going to gain an advantage over us. So the reason entrepreneurs sometimes struggle with consistency, particularly in the service aspect, is because of time. So if your product or service either demands a lot of time after the sale of a physical product, like how to use it, or questions about it, or how it's applied in different circumstances, or your product or service is mostly or completely service, like mine is mostly coaching, and there's some physical things when I do give advice and help about setting up, studios and the technical things like that, but it is mostly coaching. That can be affected by a number of things. One, it can be affected by time. If I'm pressed for time all the time, if I'm overscheduled, or if I continually run late, or I don't manage my schedule in an effective way, that will affect my ability to provide service. And so one of the things that we as entrepreneurs have to struggle with and balance is showing up all the time in a powerful and consistent way, so that one customer doesn't get just mind-blowing service that they would rave about, and another one it's ho-hum, because then of course we get inconsistent feedback because of our inconsistent service. So managing your time and managing your priorities so that you as a small business owner can provide a consistent level of service with your product is really important. So that is consistency, providing a predictable level of excellence in both your product and the service. All right, so let's talk about the next one, and that's why it's important. So the second one is why consistency matters. So I talked just a little bit about why it's important. Now let's talk about, let's dig into that deeper, about why consistency is so important. All right, first of all, it's no surprise to anyone that the internet has allowed you, as a customer, to buy products and services around the world. That's not a surprise. I do it, you do it. I buy gear from New York. I buy it all over the country. Sometimes I buy it internationally. Particularly for plugins, which are software, there's no limitations at all. So I buy plugins from Germany. They're penchant for outrageous engineering, so it translates easily into the software engineering, and so I buy plugins from Germany. In fact, my music distribution company, the one that does my worldwide distribution of all my music, is located in Austria. It's no problem because everything is handled electronically, uploads, downloads, and there's no issue there. So the ability that you and I have as customers to reach out around the world applies obviously to every single customer. Now, if you provide a product that's a physical product and the shipping costs involved, that may limit, in a practical way, some of the reach. And as a customer, it may limit the reach of how far away you want to actually buy things because they have to ship it. So I tend not to buy physical gear for the studio from Europe, for example, because the shipping costs are prohibitive. But software, which accounts for more and more of the kinds of things that I use both in the studio and in business, I buy it all over the world. So do you. So thinking about that, the second leg of consistency is why it matters. Well, first it matters because your customers now can reach around the world to buy many of their products and services. Much of what we do now is what I call advisory help. So a mentor in a mastermind that I am in talks all the time about we're done with the information age and we are in the advisory age. Well, that's not complicated to understand because the information age was the age when the amount of information was suddenly becoming available, huge amounts, and we were able to access information that we couldn't before. I remember very clearly books that I read in high school or I saw or in college. I couldn't find them again, and it was a struggle in libraries and so forth. Now almost anything that we want to know how to do, or any product or service that we want, is available online, and much of it is in the form of information. So that was what we called the information age. Now that that is past, and by that I mean all information practically, for all intents and purposes, is available online. There's almost nothing that we can't find for free online. So if information is essentially free, what do we sell? Well, what we sell is we're buried. We're buried in both information and marketing, trying to sell us something. Well, what are you and I willing to pay for? Well, I'm not willing to pay much for information. What I am willing to pay for is shortcuts about how to use it. I'm willing to pay for hand-holding that will help me use it faster, better, more completely, and in a way to create an advantage for me. And I pay for accountability in the form of helping me make sure I meet my deadlines and goals and get things done on time. So I think of it as shortcuts, hand-holding, and accountability. You can give different names to those, but that is really a lot of mentoring, it is consulting, it is coaching. Those kinds of things are skyrocketing in value and in the number of ways that we can get them. Tutoring, tutorials, all of those things are becoming extremely valuable, and all of them are available digitally. That means that you can buy much of what you need without having to access a physical product. I'm not talking about the staples of life. You don't buy rice online and have it come through the internet. You can buy it online and have it delivered the next day from, Amazon or one of the other retailers, but you don't buy a lot of that. Those kinds of things I'm not talking about. But the things that we need to improve our lives, to make more money, to repair relationships, to do something better, to achieve, to use our gifts and talents more effectively, are available online. So why consistency matters is that simply this: if you don't have consistency in your business, you'll be toast. You're finished. You're gone. Somebody else will. Somebody will take advantage of your lapse. Someone will take advantage of a product or service area that you're not providing, and you handed it to them. Anything that you're unwilling to do, that you don't know how to do, or that you haven't thought of doing, will provide a unique selling proposition for others. So this is a really cool advantage for you, because if you are able to then capture something that is uniquely yours because of your skill set or because of your experience, then you have a huge opportunity with a unique selling proposition that belongs only to you. And then that way you can carve out a niche in your area that is uniquely yours, powerfully yours, and you own it, and you can be the answer, the best at that. So the first two pieces of consistency were we explained about what it is in terms of both quality of product and quality of service, it being at a predictably high level, and how the time constraints on an entrepreneur can make that hard, and so it has to be an area of focus. The second thing we have now talked about is why it matters. It matters because it is the difference between staying in and out of business. It is the difference between capturing and losing market share. It is the difference between going up in rankings and in perceived value, and in going down in rankings online and perceived value. So that is why it matters. All right, now before I go on, I'm going to take a look and see if there are any comments about this topic that I should address. And I've misplaced my, here they are, on my spectacles, so I can read that. Hang on just a second. Okay, so there is one question there that I want to answer. Here, I'm going to get back to the screen. There's a comment about needing to change course when necessary. So this is another piece of consistency. So let's talk about getting market feedback. Market feedback can be in terms of people being happy or not happy with our product or service. It can be in terms of changes in technology or changes in an economic situation that make us need to adjust our product or service. So, for example, I have one client whose line of work has simply disappeared. That happened a lot in this last 5 or 6 years as we had the recession in 2008, but the economy changed dramatically, and as it has recovered, in the US at least, many of the same jobs that existed before simply don't exist now. They don't exist because automation and or computers have been able to take over those processes. Increase in the power of laptops, desktops, and so forth, and increase in the quality and power of software have made it so many of those jobs simply don't exist anymore. Because of that, there's huge changes in both employment and in the skill sets required to be productive and to be gainfully employed and make money. So the one area of consistency that's really important and actually on which the survival of your business will hinge is this. If you are not consistent in both soliciting and in paying attention to client feedback, you very likely will struggle. In fact, you will struggle. The kind of feedback that you would expect and what you'd find very valuable is whether or not your product or service is still working in light of changes in technology. So let me give you a silly example. In the early days of the studio, everything I did, of course, was on a tape recorder. And the tape recorders got wider and wider, the 1/4 inch and then 1/2 inch and 1 inch and 2 inch tape. I never saw anything wider than 2 inch tape. Then digital recording came in and it shrunk back to 1 inch. You used to put 24 tracks on a 2 inch tape and then 48 digital tracks on a 1 inch tape. So if I was a person manufacturing different formulations of tape, there used to be tape wars between Ampex and Scotch and some other brands that used to make tape, and they bragged about how good they were. If I put a lot of research still into that, I wouldn't be making a lot of money because the demand for tape has gone way down because of the recording onto computers. So not paying attention to the trend in the market would wreck me. Now that's a really overt and obvious one, and I did that on purpose. But there are lots of subtle changes about style, about what is fashionable, about what people in fact use that we have to pay attention. And consistency in soliciting and in listening to feedback is a critical piece of staying in business, and so that's another piece of why consistency matters, and a different angle on something to be consistent about besides the quality of your product and the quality of your customer service. So I'm going to stop for a minute ranting here and ask, I see Joy's joined us. Joy, do you have any comments on the two parts of consistency, which is what it is and why it matters at this point?
Sure. Part of it is, I think, with with me and consistency is that making that commitment first. That I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and part of it is just forming new habits too. I mean, we just sometimes we just we stop and we start and we stop and we start, but part of it is just to make that decision to push through and just keep going. Especially if it's something somewhat, unpleasant, or it's, that's when procrastination starts to set in. But, consistency and then continuing to do something, daily, I mean, it just produces a whole, other range of feelings, because then you have, the feeling that, you've completed something in a timely fashion, so you don't have to have that extra baggage along with that. So, that's one of the things with consistency is that, it becomes a habit after so many days, and then you feel good about the progress that you've made. Instead of just, well, yeah, I was consistent for a few days, but, I wasn't able to, keep it going. So, that's just one aspect of it that I found sometimes have struggled with. But that's, that's about it for now. I mean, you just have to keep going, and, it's not giving up and just, enduring to the end, essentially.
Okay, so let's talk about the thank you, Joy, for that comment and that observation. It leads right into part 3, which is how do you develop your own habits of consistency. So the first thing to do is right now take a sheet of paper or make a list if you're driving in your head of maybe 3 or 4, no more than that, not 15, but 3 or 4 areas that you think for your business are really important to be consistent in. that maybe you think right now have room for improvement. You may have a completely excellent process in one area, and there may be things that you're thinking, wow, I need to do whatever, and I've thought I needed to do whatever for a long time, and I haven't done it, so this is my opportunity. Here's the challenge. Here's the throwdown. It's time to now start being consistent in this particular area. So right now, think of and write down 3 or 4, no more than that. Don't write down 10, because that's too complicated, areas that you want to change, that you want to become consistent in. So write them down. So for example, for me, I do a lot of posting on Facebook and social media. I do that because getting the feelings that I have out there about maximizing gifts and talents, which is what I do. I mean, my coaching is really designed to maximize either individuals' gifts and talents with breakthrough work or businesses' gifts and talents by letting them serve more people, hone their message, refine their skills, and getting to where they're at serving at the highest level possible so they can both serve the most and make the most money in their businesses. So I do a lot of that kind of posting, and I do it provocatively sometimes, but that is an area where I still have to focus and become consistent. So the changes, for example, would be plan a little bit longer ahead of time. Get a more consistent theme through the kinds of posts that I want to do. So that would be an example for me, additional consistency in my public persona and the things that I put out there. So that's something I would think of in this challenge. And as we talk right now, I want you to think of some things. So something might be one of the things we talked about, service. Do you have a deadline for yourself about how long before you get back to a customer? I will not let it be more than 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever's appropriate for your business and whatever's reasonable and will be accepted by your customers. If you say, 48 and they're expecting, 30 minutes, you're going to either have to adjust their expectations or you're going to have a lot of irritated customers. And I'm not saying which one's right or wrong, but it certainly has to match the need and match the product. That kind of expectation. So you might think about your customer service reaction time, or you might think of the kind of video that you put out there to teach how to use your product or service. One of the reasons I make these speed to profit marketing videos is to help people with implementation. So people in my coaching programs and my high-end masterminds, I create these implementation videos so that they will have value and continual reminders about the kinds of things they need to do to level up their marketing, to level up how they show up in the market, and ultimately to serve more people, serve them better, make customers happier, and then of course make more money for their business and create the lifestyle and legacy they want. So those are a couple of ideas about things that you could think of on your list. So 3, maybe 4 areas that you want to change right now. Next to that, you need to articulate. Now this sometimes people push back on, but you need to articulate why is that important. So exactly what will change. So let's go back to my example. If I have more consistency in public posting that I do, perhaps a little bit more often or perhaps a little bit more consistent in the thread. Why? All right, so what I would write down there is because it will be a louder and more persistent public presence, and it will make more clear, give me a voice to more clearly articulate what I stand for, what I'm trying to do, what I stand against, what I'm trying to undo, and it will be a platform from which I can create a larger attractive force to get people into my business so I can help them maximize their gifts and talents. So that would be the why I would write down. Now, the reason we write down a why, the reason is because it makes us think it through. We can say, I need to get more products up. Why do you need to get more products up? So I can make more money. Will getting more products up make you more money? I don't know, but if there's more stuff up, maybe people will buy more. Well, what about looking at the product offerings you have? Do you need more product, or do you need a version 2 of what's up? Do you need accessories with the products you have up? I don't know what the answer would be for your business, but simply throwing it out there without having thought through why is it important to be more consistent and thoughtful in terms of what I'm doing. So the first list is 3 or 4 areas where you want to change, and then specifically make yourself write them down. Why? What do I hope that will do? And dig down. Say, well, if I have more products, it'll make more money. Why do I want more money, and why do I think that will happen? Well, it will make more money because people will buy more stuff. excuse me just one second. All right, people will buy more stuff. Well, maybe they will and maybe they won't, and maybe there is another approach to that. Is there another level of service that you can offer with the product or service that you have that would be seen as more consistent with the product offering you have? It would make people more expert, more powerful, and make them more successful with the one that you offer rather than offering an advanced version or some other, some other change. So the reason is really important. What it is, the reason, the third column is, okay, fine, how are you going to do that? Exactly what has to change. So this is a list of the implementation steps to make that change. What, why, and then how. And then, of course, the last column is when. Do what by when. Those of you that have followed my other Hangouts know about do what by when. So do what by when, what I'm going to do, why I want to do it, exactly how that will get done. What are the steps in making those changes, and when am I going to do those? I'm going to do this one the first week, second week, third week, whatever the right time frame is. It might be daily changes, it might be weekly, monthly, but making those established clearly is the tool of accountability. So then you end up with one sheet of paper or two, or maybe it's a spreadsheet, or however you decide to write that down, written, and it is important that it's written and it's there in front of you. And then as you make your plans for what you're going to do that day, that week, you look at that and say, all right, am I making the changes that I determined would make my business more profitable, my customers happier, and serve them better, and ultimately make me more successful, put more money in my pocket, and increase the desirability of my product or service? So that is a discussion of what consistency is, why it's important to you, and most importantly, how to make changes, the steps to making changes starting today in your business. All right, that comes to the end, I think, of our 30 minutes. It does. With these shortened Hangouts, it just seems to go by so fast. So before I close it out, I'm going to ask Joy, who's here with me, if she has additional comments, insight, or wisdom to offer the viewers today. Joy?
Well, I like what you said about, making, clear lists and just, having real deadlines attached to them. Because I have a bit of bright, shiny object syndrome sometimes. So, I'll start things, and then if something gets hard, I'll put it aside and not really push through it. But, having small goals achievable in a reasonable time frame, is the way to go for me. And the thing is, I used to work as a project manager, so it's not like I don't, know really how to do this. But often when you're in business for yourself and you you don't have many times, often other people, accountability buddies, I guess. So that's one thing that we're doing in our group, Speed to Profit Marketing, is having accountability buddies. So if one doesn't have one, you can have one, and just really, holding each other accountable for some things too. So that's also been helpful. And setting clear goals, and that the consistency will come. If you're doing something every single day, and if you have to get it done, if it's important to you, you're going to do it. So that's it.
Great, thank you. All right, so the last thing I want to mention is there's just two announcements. One is the Speed to Profit Marketing Coaching Group. Mondays at noon Pacific Time, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, we have the Speed to Profit Marketing Coaching Group. If coaching is something that you want in all of the principles that we've talked about and all of the others from all the tons of Hangouts that are online, if you want some coaching in a group setting where you get regular teaching and hot seats where we can focus for a few minutes on your specific issue, speedtoprofitmarketing.com/group coaching. Speedtoprofitmarketing.com/group coaching is where you can find out about that. It's a powerful forum. It'll help you get implementation stuff done and make changes and more profit for your business. So that's the first thing. The second is to mention about our events. 4 times a year we have a 3-day powerful intensive event. Speedtoprofitmarketing.com/event is the place to get a hold of me there. The plain website, speedtoprofitmarketing.com. There's a cool gift available for you for just being here. I'll tell you what it is. It is the story blueprint. It is the tool that helps you turn your personal story into a powerful advantage online and make you the answer instead of just another option. Thanks for being here today, and we'll sign off until next week's Speed to Profit Marketing. I'd love to see you in the group. Otherwise, we'll see you here next week. We'll talk to you later.